We need the tonic of wildness. We require that land and sea be indefinitely wild. We can never have enough nature. So even when we are surrounded by nature all over, still that nature is less. We need more of it. We need to get out in the mountains and see and look at the beauty of nature. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Indeed, said by John Keats, the poem that we are going through, a beauty itself. When I say that a thing of beauty is a joy forever, it's not only the beauty of nature, but it is also this poem that we are going through. It is also a thing of beauty, because every time we read it, gives us that happiness, and it never passes into nothingness. So we took first part in our previous session. Let's go through the second part of the story, and let's start with the text. Such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make gainst the hot season. Here the poet describes the beautiful things which are present on earth. These are the sun, the moon, trees, flowers in the form of daffodils, and the rivers, or the rills here. Poet says that all these things are like a blessing bestowed on all the creatures by earth. He further describes that the trees provide us with their shade, flowers with their beauty, and rivers with their coolness during the hot summers. All of these are the beauties of nature which are like a boon for us. And let's see which are the literary devices used in the particular stanza. We have alliteration, use of consonant sound at the start of two words which are close in series, that is S in sprouting shady and simple sheep, and C in cooling covert. So the sound is repeated, that is why alliteration. Imagery, trees giving shade, sprouting a shady boon. So you can imagine a tree with the shady boon below that. That is why imagery. Growing process of daffodils. When he says that daffodils with the green world they live in, you can imagine the beautiful flowers in the greenery. So that is why again imagery. Something or the words written in the manner where they bring out the picturesque creation, or when you close your eyes or even with your open eyes, you can imagine something in front of you. That is imagery. And the clear rills also, so you can imagine clear rills, absolute clear water, and you can see what is inside that. The stones are there, the grass is there. That is why clear rills. So all these are examples of imagery. Then we have antithesis also. Antithesis is repeated over and over and again in the entire poetry section of class 12th. Here it is old and young. So two opposite things are placed together. Now let's get to understand what the poet is trying to say, that the sun and the moon are the beauties of nature. Not only do they provide light, but they provide life to us also. The sun is the focal point, the basic point from where life emerges. We cannot live without it. The planet cannot exist without it. It is burning to help us. It is burning to make us live. The moon is there to show us the path, the light during the night time. And then he talks about trees old and young. So it doesn't matter if a tree is too old, too big, too shady, or too small, a little shady. It doesn't really matter. These trees, no matter how different they are always a boon for the creatures around them. They provide shade, they provide life, they provide comfort to others, and that is why they are being termed as the beauties of nature. Now when the poet says sprouting a shady boon to the simple sheep. Now shady boon, you can understand that human beings or other creatures, they find solace, comfort under the trees, and against the hot summer season, rainy season, no matter what the season is, the trees are a boon to us. They provide us shade and make us comfortable. But the poet is referring to this picture also when he says shady boon for simple sheep. Simple sheep, he is symbolizing human beings as the simple sheep, because Christ is somebody who takes care of the entire humanity, and it appears as if the simple sheep are the symbols for the simple human beings, the common people. So here he is referring to this also, but you can think that shady boon for simple sheep means all kinds of creatures. Because it is poetry, we can have different interpretations for it. Now then he started off with other images found here and there. He talks about daffodils with the green world they live in. Now look at the daffodils. They are of course very beautiful, and not only are they beautiful, but they are making the green world around them more beautiful. Otherwise, looking at only green things would not give us much pleasure, right? But this combination of yellow and green, it looks fantastic. So the daffodils are beautiful not only because they are beautiful, but because they make the green world around them look more beautiful. That is their beauty. And then the poet talked about clear rills against the hot season. So these clear rills, what they are doing, they are making a cooling covert. Cooling covert is a cool area around them. I think you can see small stones around the clear rill like a boundary. So this boundary place also would be very cool, right? Not only the clear rills, but they make a cooling area all around them where all the organisms could come and feel solace or feel comforted, because the season might be really hot, but these clear rills are a comfort to enjoy. And this is their beauty. They are not cooling themselves, but they are cooling others. Moving forward with the text. The mid-forest brake with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heaven's brink. The poet further carries on with the description of the more beautiful things present on earth, such as the beautiful musk roses, which have such a nice fragrance. Then he describes the tales of the mighty warriors who laid their lives for their countries or for humanity. He says that these beautiful things are the gifts from God for all of us. They are like a nectar given by God to us, and these are those beauties which are immortal and give us a reason to live on this earth despite having so many sorrows in our life. The literary devices are alliteration. H, that sound of her, is repeated in have heard. Metaphor, immortal drinks, beautiful objects of nature are forever like a never-ending portion of a drink. So that is why metaphor. Then we have the rhyme. Rhyme scheme is used in every stanza of the poem. And imagery, bushes full of musk roses, sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. Books describing valor of fighters, that is grandeur associated with the mighty dead, and God providing us with best things, that is pouring from the heaven's spring, the way God is giving it to us. Now look at each and everything now. The mid-forest brake refers to a thick mass of fern. So ferns are all over in the middle of the forest. Now imagine this particular scenery. It looks beautiful indeed. But what if these beautiful musk roses are sprinkled? On top left, you can see how sprinkling goes on. This is sprinkling. Somebody is sprinkling some material, some beautiful things on a cupcake. So imagine that these beautiful musk roses are sprinkled on this thick mass of fern. Then what would happen? This thick mass of fern will look more beautiful because of these beautiful musk roses. So what these small musk roses are doing, they are making a lush green area look more beautiful, and that is their beauty. moving forward. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. And when we think about the noble warriors who have fought or died for the nation, then we realize that how beautiful they were also, that what great things they did. Even we can never forget them. And they are also in the same category, the category of a thing of beauty, because they have done it not for themselves but for others. So we are taking example of daffodils, clear rills, musk roses, and every time that particular thing is not only doing something for itself but for others. And this is the same quality present in the warriors who fight for their nation and die for the nation also. All lovely tales that we have heard or read. So here the poet is trying to say that how nature is not far away from fiction. Stories and tales are always fictional. They are fantasies. But nature is no fantasy. But it is as beautiful as something fantastic. Now look at these pictures. Do they appear real? Can we believe that something so beautiful can exist? Like we usually read in stories that there is a small village beside mountains covered with snow, a river flowing beside, I'm sorry. So it's something that happens only in stories, but here you can see right in front of you, it really happens. And the other pictures too, they appear to be fantastic, something that can only exist in fantasies. But then we realize that all such places really exist around us. They are so real. So nature is not only fantastic, it is real and as real as something fantastic. And finally, the poet says that nature is basically an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us. It is falling on us from the heaven's brink. It is coming from heaven. Brink is edge. So, nature is nothing but an immortal drinks fountain coming down from the heaven. And when he says that it is coming down from heaven, he is trying to convey the thought that nature is provided to us not by somebody else but by God himself. He is taking care of us, or she is taking care of us with the help of these beautiful things around us. Now, some of the things that are mentioned in the poem which can be listed under the category of things of beauty are the sun, the moon, shady trees, beautiful daffodil flowers, streams of water, dense green bushes of forest ferns, where fragrant musk roses grow, tales of heroic men who sacrifice their lives. All these fall under the category of a thing of beauty, irrespective of their forms. Now, there are some things that cause suffering and pain, which are desire to offend others, hopelessness, lack of noble men or noble nature, bad health, unhappiness, gloom and darkness that we discussed earlier also. And in the end, all we can say about the poem is that it is up to you to see the beauty of everyday things. We only have to realize that a thing of beauty is not as big as sun. It can be as small as a small sapling, because all they are doing is they are providing something to the other. They are kind, unlike us. They are selfless, unlike the selfish human beings. So as a human being, you and me can learn from the nature, which happens to be always around us, but we hardly notice them. So my dear students, about this poem, I think the lesson that we must learn is a thing of beauty is a joy forever. That is why look closely and realize what is a thing of beauty. It is something that always gives you happiness, and it can be anything in any given form or no form at all. So with this, let's close it for now, and thank you very much.